Clara's breath catches in her throat. The sound, that terrible, impossible sound, echoes through the cathedral like thunder splitting the sky. A ripping, a tearing. The delicate whisper of silk surrendering to forces it was never meant to withstand. No. Time fractures. The world tilts sideways. 200 faces turn toward her in synchronized horror, their expressions morphing from joy to shock in the space between heartbeats. Camera flashes explode like supernovas. The violinist's bow screeches to a halt mid-note. Clara stands frozen 3 steps from the altar, one foot suspended above the white runner, her father's arm still linked with hers. She feels the dress, her grandmother's lace, her mother's dreams, her own hopes woven into ivory silk, falling away from her body in ways that make her skin burn with shame. The tear runs from her hip to her knee. The bodice sags. Fabric that should hold, doesn't. Rafael's face drains of color at the altar. His best man reaches forward instinctively. Gasps ripple through the pews like wind through wheat. Clara's vision blurs. Her heart hammers against her ribs so violently she thinks it might break free. The bouquet of white roses trembles in her hands, petals scattering like snow. What just happened? But somewhere deep in the chaos of her mind, beneath the humiliation and the shock, a single thought crystallizes with brutal clarity. Someone did this to me. 6 hours earlier. Sunlight poured through the bridal suite windows like liquid gold, painting everything in shades of promise. Clara stood before the full-length mirror, barely recognizing the woman staring back at her. The dress was perfect. Every stitch, every fold, every delicate pearl button running down her spine. Perfection. The ivory silk caught the light and held it, making her seem almost otherworldly. The lace sleeves her grandmother had worn in 1962 now graced Clara's arms, connecting past to present in threads of love and tradition. "You look like a dream," her mother whispered, tears already streaming down her face. She adjusted the cathedral veil with trembling fingers. Clara's own eyes misted. "Mom, you're going to make me cry before we even start." Too late. Her mother laughed through her tears, pressing a tissue delicately beneath Clara's eyes. "I just keep thinking about the first time you told me about Rafael, the way your whole face lit up." Clara smiled, remembering. 3 years ago, at a friend's gallery opening, Rafael standing in front of a painting of a storm-tossed sea, completely absorbed. She'd walked over to comment on the artist's use of color, and he'd turned to her with those green-gray eyes that seemed to see everything, really see her, in a way no one else ever had. They'd talked for 4 hours straight. About art and philosophy and childhood dreams and fears they'd never spoken aloud. By the end of the night, Clara knew. She just knew. Ms. Clara, the dressmaker, Mrs. Chen, entered with a small sewing kit. "Just want to do one final check before you leave. Make sure everything is secure." Clara stood patiently as Mrs. Chen circled her, examining seams and hems with the practiced eye of someone who'd been perfecting wedding gowns for 30 years. "Beautiful," Mrs. Chen murmured. "Everything looks perfect. The modifications we made last week are holding wonderfully." "Thank you for accommodating the last-minute changes," Clara said. "I know it was a lot of extra work." Mrs. Chen waved her hand dismissively. "For you? Anything. You've been the easiest bride I've worked with in years." She paused, her fingers running along the side seam. Clara's heart skipped. "What?" "Nothing, nothing." Mrs. Chen smiled, but her eyes held a flicker of confusion. "Just... this section feels different, but it looks fine. Must be the lighting." A knock at the door interrupted them. Helena entered, stunning in her bridesmaid dress of dusty rose, her blonde hair swept into an elegant updo. She carried a champagne bottle and wore a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "There's my beautiful bride," Helena exclaimed, pouring champagne into crystal flutes. "Clara, you look absolutely stunning." The word landed strangely, with an emphasis that felt almost bitter. Clara accepted the glass, studying her oldest friend. They'd known each other since college, had been inseparable for over a decade. But lately, especially in the months since Clara's engagement, something had shifted. Helena's jokes had sharper edges. Her compliments felt like carefully wrapped criticisms. Her presence, once comforting, now carried an undercurrent Clara couldn't quite name. To Clara, Helena raised her glass. May all your dreams come true. The bridesmaids echoed the toast, but Clara noticed Helena's hand trembling slightly as she drank. Their eyes met in the mirror, and for just a second, Clara saw something raw and painful flash across Helena's face. Then it was gone, replaced by that brilliant smile. I can't believe you're actually doing this, Helena said, running her fingers along the dress's embroidered train. Getting your fairy tale ending. Helena! No, really, it's amazing. You and Rafael, the perfect couple. Helena's voice was light, conversational, but her grip on the fabric tightened almost imperceptibly. Some people just get everything, don't they? Clara's mother stepped forward, sensing the tension. Helena, dear, would you mind checking if the photographer has arrived? After Helena left, Clara's mother touched her shoulder gently. Are you sure about having her as your maid of honor? Mom, she's my best friend. I know, sweetheart, Her mother trailed off, choosing her words carefully. I've noticed she seems different lately, especially around you. Clara pushed the unease away. This was her wedding day. Nothing would spoil it. She's probably just stressed about her own life. She'll be fine. But as Clara took one last look in the mirror before heading to the ceremony, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was very, very wrong. The organ's triumphant notes swelled through the cathedral as the doors opened. Clara stood at the threshold, her father's strong arm supporting her, and felt her heart expand with a joy so overwhelming it almost hurt. There, at the end of the endless white runner, stood Rafael. Even from this distance, she could see the emotion on his face. The way his hand pressed against his chest as if trying to contain his heart, the way his eyes never left hers, communicating everything that words could never capture. I see you. I choose you. I will always choose you. Ready, princess, her father whispered. Clara nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. They began the walk. Each step felt momentous, as if she were crossing not just physical space, but a threshold into a completely new life. The faces of friends and family blurred into a warm glow of love. Candles flickered in tall silver candelabras. Flowers perfumed the air with roses and jasmine. Raphael's mother dabbed her eyes with a handkerchief. Raphael's younger sister gave Clara an enthusiastic thumbs up. On the groom's side, his best friend Marcus stood beaming, having given Raphael endless grief about finally settling down with the woman who makes you talk about feelings. Clara's bridesmaids stood in a perfect line, bouquets held at identical angles. Helena stood closest to the altar, her expression unreadable. As Clara passed the pew where her college friends sat, she heard whispers, "She looks like a princess. And I'm not crying, you're crying." 10 steps from the altar, 5 steps. Raphael reached out his hand, his smile breaking across his face like sunrise. 3 steps. That's when Clara felt it. A strange give in the fabric at her hip, a sensation of something not quite right. 2 steps. A small pop, barely audible. Then another. 1 step. The world exploded into sound and shock and horror. The dress tore. Not a small tear. Not a modest rip that could be ignored or covered. The entire left side of the gown gave way, the seams surrendering as if they'd been held together by wishes rather than thread. The bodice sagged, exposing the slip beneath. The train caught on her heel and ripped further, the sound obscenely loud in the sacred space. Clara stumbled. Her father caught her. The bouquet fell from her nerveless fingers, roses scattering across white silk like bloodstains. 200 people gasped in unison. Camera flashes erupted as guests instinctively documented the catastrophe. "Oh my God," someone whispered. "What happened? Did the dress just—" Raphael was moving toward her instantly, his jacket already off. But Clara couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't think beyond the roaring shame flooding every cell of her body. This isn't happening. This can't be happening. She looked down at the ruins of her grandmother's lace, her mother's dreams, her own hopes for perfection on this one day. The dress that Mrs. Chen had pronounced perfect just hours ago now hung from her body in tatters. Clara's eyes lifted to the altar, to the priest's shocked expression, to the bridesmaids frozen in horror. to Helena. And there, just there, for one unguarded instant, Clara saw it. Helena wasn't shocked. She wasn't horrified. She was satisfied. The expression vanished so quickly Clara almost thought she'd imagined it, but she hadn't. In that single second, she'd seen the truth written across her best friend's face as clearly as words on a page. Helena had known this would happen, because Helena had made it happen. Clara's knees buckled. Rafael caught her, wrapping his jacket around her shoulders, murmuring words she couldn't hear over the roaring in her ears. Her father's face was pale with shock. Her mother pushed through the crowd, her own dress gathered in her hands as she ran. The cathedral erupted in chaos. Voices overlapped. Phones appeared, capturing Clara's humiliation for social media immortality. The photographer's camera clicked frantically, documenting the disaster. "Everyone, please." The priest attempted to restore order, but it was useless. Clara let Rafael guide her toward the side door, away from the staring eyes and whispered speculation. But before she disappeared from view, she looked back one more time. Helena stood exactly where she'd been, bouquet still clutched in her perfectly manicured hands. Their eyes met across the chaos, and Helena smiled. The bridal suite felt like a crime scene. Clara sat on the velvet chaise, Raphael's jacket wrapped around her like armor, staring at nothing while chaos swirled around her. Her mother had ushered everyone out except for Rafael, who knelt beside her, his hand covering hers. "Clara," he said softly, "talk to me." She couldn't. The words were trapped beneath the crushing weight of humiliation. The dress lay on the floor where she'd stepped out of it, a crumpled monument to ruined dreams. "I don't understand," her mother said for the 10th time, holding up sections of the gown. "Mrs. Chen checked everything this morning. The dress was perfect." Raphael's sister, Emma, who'd followed them into the suite, examined the torn fabric with a frown. "Mom, come look at this." Raphael's mother, Margaret, joined her. Both women had sewing experience, Margaret from years of costume design, Emma from her fashion degree. They spread the dress across the table, studying the damage with growing confusion. "These seams," Margaret said slowly. "They're wrong." "What do you mean wrong?" Clara's mother demanded. "Look." Margaret pointed to the side seam that had given way. "This stitching is recent, very recent, but it's not the same quality as the rest of the dress. Someone's been at this with different thread." Emma ran her fingers along the fabric. "And this material, Mom, feel this section." Margaret did, her expression darkening. "This isn't the same silk as the rest of the dress. It's similar, but it's a cheaper weave, more fragile." She looked up at Clara, her voice gentle but firm. "Someone replaced sections of your dress with inferior fabric, and they did it recently, possibly as recently as this morning." The room went silent. Clara felt Raphael's hand tighten on hers. "That's not possible," she whispered. "The dress was in my sight all morning except—" She stopped. "Except when I went to say hello to Raphael's grandmother before the ceremony. For 10 minutes. And Helena volunteered to stay and guard the dress." "Oh God," Clara breathed. "What?" Raphael asked urgently. "Helena." The name came out broken. "She was alone with the dress, just for a few minutes, but—" "No." Her mother shook her head vehemently. "Clara, Helena is your best friend. She would never—" "Wouldn't she?" The words came from Emma, her voice tight with anger. She pulled out her phone and began scrolling. "I didn't want to say anything before, but she's been posting some interesting things lately." Emma turned the phone to show them. Helena's Instagram, usually full of cheerful brunch photos and inspirational quotes, had taken a darker turn in recent months. Passive-aggressive posts about people who flaunt their happiness, quotes about envy and unfairness. A photo from Clara's engagement party with the caption, "Some people just fall into luck." And then, from just 2 days ago, "Sometimes the only way to feel better is to watch someone else fall." "Jesus," Raphael muttered. Clara's hands started shaking. "I need to talk to Mrs. Chen." 20 minutes later, Mrs. Chen arrived, her face creased with worry and confusion. She examined the dress, then pulled out her phone to show them photos from the final fitting. "Look," she said, zooming in on an image. "This is the dress as I finished it. See this section here? That's the original silk, the stitching I did. But this," she gestured to the ruined gown, "this has been altered, badly. Someone with sewing skills, but not professional level skills, replaced this entire panel with cheaper fabric and used a stitch pattern designed to fail under stress." "Could it have been accidental?" Clara's mother asked desperately. Mrs. Chen's expression was grave. "Mrs. Bennett, this was deliberate sabotage. Someone wanted this dress to fall apart at the worst possible moment, and they knew exactly how to make it happen." Clara stood abruptly, the room spinning. Rafael caught her, steadying her against his chest. "I need to talk to her," Clara said. "I need to hear her say it." They found Helena in the cathedral garden, sitting on a stone bench beneath a flowering magnolia tree. She'd removed her heels and was holding her phone, scrolling with an expression of distant satisfaction. Clara approached alone. Rafael and her parents waited by the entrance, close enough to intervene if needed, but far enough to give Clara space. Helena looked up as Clara's shadow fell across her. For just a second, something like panic flashed in her eyes. Then the mask slid back into place. The smile, the concerned friend. "Clara, God, I've been so worried." "Are you okay? That was just—" "Stop," Clara said quietly. Helena's smile faltered. "I know it was you." The garden went silent except for the whisper of wind through leaves. A bird called somewhere in the distance. Helena's face remained carefully neutral, but her knuckles whitened around her phone. "I don't know what you—" "Don't!" Clara's voice cracked. "Please don't insult me by lying, not after everything." Helena stared at her for a long moment. Then slowly, deliberately, she set her phone down on the bench. When she looked up, the mask was gone. What remained was something raw and poisonous that made Clara's breath catch. "You really want to know?" Helena's voice was low, bitter. "Fine. Yes. I did it. I spent 3 hours yesterday taking apart your perfect dress and putting it back together with fabric that I knew would fail. I made sure those seams would rip at exactly the right moment. The moment everyone would see. The moment it would hurt the most. Even expecting the confession, hearing it out loud felt like a physical blow." Clara swayed. "Why?" she whispered. Helena laughed, the sound sharp and broken. "Why? Are you seriously asking me why?" She stood, her hands clenched into fists. "Do you have any idea what it's been like? Watching you float through life while I struggle for every scrap? You got the scholarship I wanted. You got the job I applied for. You got into the graduate program that rejected me. Helena, that's not—" "And then Rafael." Helena's voice rose, trembling with emotion. "God, Rafael. Do you know I met him first, at that gallery opening? I'd been standing in front of that painting for 20 minutes, and he came over and started talking to me. We talked for maybe 5 minutes before you glided up with your perfect smile and your perfect laugh, and suddenly I didn't exist anymore. He only had eyes for you." Clara's mind reeled. "You never told me—" What was I supposed to say? "Hey, best friend, the love of your life was actually talking to me first before you stole him." Helena's eyes glittered with tears and rage. "I've watched you have everything I wanted. Every single thing. And you act like you don't even know how lucky you are. So you decided to destroy my wedding day." Clara's voice hardened. "To humiliate me in front of everyone I love? To ruin a dress that belonged to my grandmother? I wanted you to feel what I feel," Helena shouted. "Just once. I wanted you to know what it's like to have your dreams ripped apart in front of everyone, to be the one people pity instead of envy, to feel small and broken and less than." Tears streamed down both their faces now. "I thought you were my friend," Clara said, her voice breaking. "I was." Helena's shoulders shook. "I am. That's what makes this so horrible. I love you, Clara. I genuinely love you, but I also hate you. I hate how easy everything is for you. I hate how much I want what you have. I hate that I can't just be happy for you without this poison eating me alive." "Then you should have talked to me," Clara said. "You should have told me you were hurting instead of destroying something that can never be fixed." Helena crumpled back onto the bench, her face in her hands. "I know. God, I know. The second I finished tampering with the dress last night, I knew I'd crossed a line I can never uncross, but I couldn't stop myself. The jealousy just consumed everything until there was nothing else. Clara stood there, looking at her oldest friend, this person she'd trusted with her deepest secrets, her fears, her joys, and felt something fundamental break and reshape inside her. You need help, Helena. Professional help. This kind of envy. It's destroying you. Helena looked up, mascara running down her face. I know, I've known for a while. What happens now isn't up to me, Clara said quietly. Mrs. Chen documented everything. The altered fabric, the sabotaged seams, there's evidence of vandalism, destruction of property. My parents could press charges. Helena's face paled. Clara, I won't ask them to, Clara interrupted, but only if you get help. Real help. Therapy. Treatment for whatever is eating you alive. And Helena? She paused, gathering her strength. You need to stay away from me. Maybe forever. Maybe just until you've healed. But I can't have you in my life right now. You understand that, don't you? Helena nodded, tears flowing freely now. I'm sorry. I know it doesn't fix anything, but I'm so sorry. Clara turned and walked away. Each step felt heavy, final. Behind her, she heard Helena begin to sob. Deep, wrenching sounds that spoke of something broken beyond easy repair. Rafael met her at the garden entrance, gathering her into his arms without words. It's over, Clara whispered into his chest. It's finally over. The days following the disaster moved in strange rhythms, moments of crushing sadness punctuated by unexpected grace. Helena left town 2 days after the confrontation. Through a mutual friend, Clara learned she'd checked into a treatment facility in Colorado, one that specialized in helping people with severe anxiety and obsessive thought patterns. Clara felt a complex swirl of emotions about this: relief, sadness, a lingering anger she couldn't quite shake, and beneath it all a stubborn thread of hope that Helena might actually heal. The wedding dress couldn't be salvaged. Sis. Chen tried, but the damage was too extensive, the violated sections too integral to the gown's structure. Clara's mother wept over it one last time before carefully preserving the undamaged lace sleeves, her own mother's legacy, in a cedar chest. It's just a dress, Clara told her mother, though her own heart ached. It was supposed to be perfect, her mother replied. Nothing is perfect, Mom. I'm learning that. But the hardest part wasn't the dress or even Helena's betrayal. It was facing the social media storm that had erupted in the wake of the cathedral disaster. Videos of Clara's dress tearing had gone viral. Strangers speculated about everything from shoddy craftsmanship to whether Clara had gained weight. The most painful comments wondered if it was some kind of sign from the universe that she shouldn't get married. Rafael found her scrolling through comments late one night, tears streaming down her face. Give me that, he said gently, taking the phone. He powered it off and set it on the nightstand. You're done with that. They're saying horrible things. They're strangers who don't know you or love you or matter even a little bit. He pulled her close, his hand stroking her hair. Clara, look at me. She lifted her tear-stained face. What happened at the cathedral wasn't about the dress falling apart, he said softly. It was about watching the woman I love experience something traumatic and painful. Do you know what I saw when I looked at you in that moment? Clara shook her head. Courage, Rafael said. You held yourself together with dignity even when you were breaking inside. You searched for the truth instead of just accepting the disaster. You confronted Helena with honesty instead of just cutting her out. Clara, you're the strongest person I know. I don't feel strong. Strength isn't about never breaking. It's about how you rebuild. He kissed her forehead. And I'm going to be right here while you rebuild, for as long as it takes. Over the following weeks, Clara did rebuild. With Rafael's steady presence, her family's unwavering support, and her own slowly returning strength, she began to heal. She started therapy, working through not just the wedding trauma but years of unexamined people-pleasing and conflict avoidance that had kept her from recognizing Helena's deteriorating mental state. She learned to set boundaries, to recognize that she deserved happiness without guilt, to understand that Helena's envy was about Helena's pain, not Clara's worthiness. She also learned that life's most important moments rarely go according to plan, and that was okay. 3 months later, On a crisp autumn morning, Clara stood in front of a mirror once again. This time the dress was different, simpler. A sleek column of champagne silk that flowed like water, with delicate beading at the shoulders. No train. No elaborate lace, just clean lines and understated elegance. Her mother's hands were steadier this time as she fastened the pearl buttons. "You're sure about this?" her mother asked. "We could still do a big ceremony if you wanted. Everyone would understand." "I'm sure," Clara said firmly. They'd chosen the beach at sunset. Just 30 guests, close family and their truest friends. No cathedral, no elaborate flowers, no videographers capturing every angle. Just love and intention and the sound of waves against sand. Rafael's mother had officiated after getting ordained online, a gesture that had made Clara cry with gratitude. Emma had helped Clara design the new dress. Her father had promised not to cry, a promise they both knew he'd break. As Clara descended the beach house stairs and saw Rafael standing on the sand, barefoot in grey linen pants and a white shirt, his face breaking into that smile that still made her heart skip, she felt something click into place. This was right. This was real. This was theirs. The ceremony was brief and beautiful. They'd written their own vows, words that spoke of weathering storms together, of choosing each other again and again, of love that grew stronger through adversity. "I promise to be your safe harbor," Rafael said, his voice thick with emotion. "To believe in your strength even when you forget it. To celebrate your joy without shame and hold your sorrow without fixing it. To choose you, every single day, for the rest of my life." Clara's own vows came from somewhere deep and true. "I promise to let myself be loved by you, to trust in us even when I'm afraid, to grow beside you instead of shrinking for you, to honor both your light and your shadows, and to never ever take for granted the gift of being chosen by you." When Rafael kissed her, the small gathering erupted in cheers. The sun painted the sky in shades of amber and rose. Music drifted from speakers hidden in the dunes. Someone popped champagne. Clara laughed, freely, joyfully, for the first time in months. During the reception, as they danced barefoot on the sand, Rafael pulled her close. "Any regrets?" he murmured against her hair. Clara looked around at the people who loved them, at the simple beauty of this moment, at the life they were building together from honesty and hard-won wisdom. "Not a single one," she said. And she meant it. The cathedral disaster had broken something in her, yes, but like Japanese kintsugi, the art of repairing broken pottery with gold, she'd been put back together in a way that made the breaks part of her beauty. The cracks were visible, but they caught the light. She was stronger for having broken, more authentic for having been tested, more certain of what truly mattered. As the evening stretched into night and stars emerged above the ocean, Clara found herself thinking of Helena. She still felt anger when she thought of the sabotage, still felt sadness for the friendship they'd lost, but she also felt something else. Forgiveness, small and tentative, but real. She hoped Helena was healing, hoped she would find peace with herself and her life. Hoped that someday the poison of envy would drain away, leaving room for genuine contentment. But whether Helena healed or not, Clara was done carrying the weight of her friend's pain. She was done making herself smaller to make others comfortable. She was done apologizing for her happiness. "I love you," Rafael whispered, spinning her under the stars. "I love you too," Clara replied, "always." The dress didn't tear this time. It flowed like water, like silk, like something that was meant to move freely and joyfully through the world. And Clara, finally, did the same. If you made it this far, don't forget to leave your comment, your like, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new stories. Thanks for watching and see you soon.